Hi everyone! Today's spectrum is not a normal travel spectrum. It's quite serious, and it's about the current situation in Ukraine, which I would like to share my thoughts on and my experiences and perspectives on. Imagine summing up your whole life in a single bag and forced to leave a place which you thought would be forever and be the owner of your dreams, to risking it all to find a safe place, one with no familiar faces, fearing nothing other than death. It's hard, but sadly, this has become the lives of 1.7 million Ukrainians today. We are on our way to Budomierz, which is the Polish-Ukrainian border, and we're there to volunteer and offer help for the Indians coming into Poland from Ukraine. So the Indian embassy had called for volunteers from all over Europe to offer help at the borders, and we were one of the few to be fortunate enough to be part of this mission. I will not be sharing any personal experiences from those who've had to leave Ukraine because what they've had to go through is extremely traumatizing, and their situation is absolutely heartbreaking, and it's not easy to leave everything behind, leave your whole life, leave your belongings, leaving your loved ones behind, and starting a new life, and I want to respect that, so I'll just be giving a general overview instead. So now we're near the border, and it was quite cold. You can probably tell by the ice on the road. It was around -5 degrees. So at the border, it was snowing, and there are some people who are crossing the border, and this is the Polish side of the border. There were also lots of buses and cars to pick up the Ukrainians and drive them to Warsaw so that they're safe. There were also many people waiting in cars to offer help to stay with them until they could build their new lives. And of course, there were lots of volunteers, and it was really nice to see how many volunteers had come willingly to help. There were also lots of these camps at the border which were organized by the volunteers who were helping by offering food and shelter and other basic necessities which would suffice for their immediate needs after evacuating. And these camps also had some warm clothing for the weather, which had been donated by countries all over Europe. Approximately 1.7 million people have had to leave their homes back in Ukraine to reach the borders of the neighboring countries. Because of the bombing in Ukraine, there are no more basic necessities available to the citizens, like heating, food, and water, and so many more, which has forced them to leave the country. They have had to walk many kilometers to reach the Ukraine border and then come to Poland, and only women and little kids were allowed to cross the border first, and it was incredibly heartbreaking and an emotional sight to witness them leaving some of their family behind. We volunteered at the Indian bunker, which was hosted by the External Ministry of India under the Operation Ganga project. So many Indians felt secure after coming into these bunkers, and we could see a light of hope in their faces that they were finally going to reach back home to their families. The food that was offered at the Indian bunkers was organized by Swaminarayan Temple in Europe. And there are also lots of volunteers unpacking the basic necessities to give to the Indians stationed at the bunker. It was a really nice gesture to see so many volunteers supporting for such a good cause. And this is a list of people and seating arrangements in the aircraft.
People right now.
150 people.
150 people right now. In that 150 also there are only 6 little groups. That is the last batch. Is the I think today is the last flight from Poland.
So you are the government is supporting the food and everything, right?
Yes. Government and Indian government, and at the same time like
The local.
there is a Swaminarayan.
Swaminarayan Savior.
Temple also they also supporting them.
So Srikanth is from Warsaw. He's having Indian restaurant. So he's also trying to give the support for the people as much as he can.
There is also this adorable dog who was forced to leave Ukraine and who has never been to India, which made my heart break even more.
I'm working in Ukraine. I'm living in Lviv. Not Ukraine, this side of Lviv. But we are in not much problems in Lviv because it's the best side. And we are struggling like 3 or 4 days, no food, walking kilometers and kilometers like border. One Cheney border we are first time was. Then 3 days we are staying like. So much students are with us, and take the girls firstly take, and some people also they can't go, and like we also with them. Then we are take other border. Then that's the 4th day. The 4th day we are not sleep and we are full outside on like full of cold, with no food. That's a big experience. Now it's a safe here. We are going back to home and so very happy. But one sad moment also, my grandfather is died today morning. That's also my like happy and like secure. Thank you.
So there were quite a lot of Indian citizens who were waiting to go on the evacuation airplane, and here they are at the airport to go on the plane. The Indians were distributed with packed food and water before going on the flight to India. People were also eagerly waiting at the airport to board the flight to India under the Operation Ganga. The Operation Ganga is an evacuation operation by the government of India to evacuate Indian citizens who crossed over to the neighboring countries from Ukraine, like Romania or Poland. And this involved transport assistance from the bordering countries of Ukraine. One of the union ministers, Mr. V.K. Singh, was assisting Operation Ganga and was in charge for the whole evacuation of the Indian citizens from Poland. Many of the roads in Ukraine were destroyed, which meant that the cars couldn't drive through, so many people walked from Ukraine to the border just to evacuate and get into safety. All of these Ukrainians have gone through so much, and it's truly devastating what's happened to them, and their stories are complete tragedies. And even though they were given everything that they could possibly need, it still won't make them forget all the pain and suffering they've gone through. It was really hard to see people leaving their families behind, especially men who had to leave their wives and children behind and send them into the unknown, not knowing if they're going to be safe or not, just to protect their countries. And I think that's incredibly devastating how much they have to sacrifice. The story of these Ukrainians is truly a tragedy. If we leave them to languish in the destroyed houses, then they'll become members of the lost generation. Ignoring the ongoing crisis in Ukraine is simply no longer an option. End with a success that gives others hope and many pride. I'm asking us to do something we've all done before, something we'll do again, to help those who need us. Because at the end of the day, it's the victims of war that can hold the keys to everlasting peace. May this war come to an end. Thank you.